They say the forest remembers every trespass, that the mountains whisper your name long after you've left. Somewhere in the shadows, eyes watch, patient, unblinking, waiting for fear to take form. Tonight you will witness the unseen, the Jinn al-Shar that stalks hunters, trespassers, and wanderers alike. The screams are real, the silence is worse. Step closer if you dare, but remember, what watches you from the darkness does not sleep. I grew up in a quiet town in northern Pennsylvania, surrounded by endless stretches of state game lands, woods so dense and ancient they felt older than memory itself. Hunting wasn't just a pastime there, it was ritual. On the first day of rifle season, the town would empty, as if called by something unseen deep within the forest. My father initiated me into that world when I was 12. By 23, I walked those woods alone. This happened during late archery season in November 2021. A thin veil of snow covered the ground, just enough to reveal movement, just enough to expose what should remain hidden. I had permission to hunt on a secluded 70-acre property owned by an old acquaintance of my father. The land was thick with towering trees, tangled undergrowth, and a forgotten logging trail that cut through like a scar. Deep within it stood an abandoned hunting cabin, its roof caving in, as if something inside had been trying to escape for years. I arrived at 5:15 a.m., long before dawn. The world was swallowed in darkness. My headlamp cut a narrow beam through the trees as I walked past a rusted gate and into the woods. That's when I felt it, that ancient, suffocating sensation, as if unseen eyes were fixed on me. In Arabic folklore, they speak of the jinn, beings that dwell in desolate places, forests, ruins, watching, always watching. I told myself it was just my imagination. The Nefs al-Zalam, the spirit of darkness, plays tricks on the mind. I climbed into my tree stand, 20 feet above the frozen earth, and waited. An hour after sunrise, something impossible caught my eye. About 60 yards away, there was another tree stand, a ladder stand, old, weathered, rotting, and it had not been there before. I knew this land. I had hunted here multiple times. That stand, whatever it was, should not exist. The snow around it told a story that made my chest tighten. Only one set of footprints, a single trail emerging from deep within the woods and leading directly to the base of the stand. Nothing else, no return tracks, no wandering steps, just one path, as if something had come out of the forest and never left. A cold thought crept into my mind, uninvited. Some doors in the wilderness don't open both ways, and something had just crossed through one. By 8 a.m., the forest had fully awakened, yet something in the air was wrong. Movement caught my eye near that abandoned stand. My heart froze. Not a deer, but a figure. A man. No camouflage, no care for the morning chill. Just a dirty gray hoodie, dark pants and an unnatural stillness. He stood behind a tree, his gaze locked on me. Slowly, he raised a hand, not in greeting, but as if to mark my existence in his sight. His wave was clinical, devoid of warmth, a silent acknowledgement that I had been seen. I waved back, tension knotting my stomach. After a moment, he stepped behind the tree and vanished. I waited. No rustle of leaves, no crack of a branch, just the wind whispering through the skeletal trees. When I approached the tree later, the snow told the same impossible story. Untouched, not a single step leading away, only that solitary line of prints toward the ladder stand. And the stand itself, empty, snow undisturbed on its seat. It was as if the forest itself had swallowed him whole, leaving only a shadow in memory. On my way back to my stand, I noticed strips of orange fabric tied to branches, eye level, then higher, then lower. Marks, symbols, warnings perhaps. Ancient Arabic superstition calls them taweez, charms or signals to ward or bind spirits. I had no idea whether they were protective or sinister. That first moment of recognition made me consider leaving. I should have left then. By noon, I returned to my truck, rationalizing away the dread over lunch and warmth. But the sensation lingered, like the Jinn el-Mashriq, a watcher from the eastern woods, patient and silent. Returning at 2 p.m., I climbed back into my stand. The air was thick with anticipation, heavy with something unseen. About an hour before sunset, I heard it, the deliberate crunch of leaves behind me, too measured, too human, too close. 30 yards away, he emerged from the underbrush. Closer now, his face visible, pale, beard patchy, eyes unblinking, and the smile, not friendly, but sharp, clinical. In his hand, a screwdriver, yellow and black, glinting like a talisman. He said nothing, just watched. I asked if he had permission. Silence. 10 heartbeats of tense confrontation. Then he turned and melted back into the trees, disappearing as effortlessly as he had appeared. I should have left, but I stayed. Foolishly, I stayed. As the last rays of light died, I hurried back toward my truck, and the forest began to reveal its language of terror. The strips of orange cloth were no longer benign. They were markers, tied to sticks in the snow, and hanging from one, a dead squirrel, suspended, a crude talisman of warning. Beneath it, a circle etched in the snow, like the ancient Arabic Deira el-Lahan, a binding circle meant to trap or curse. And I realized, truly, the forest had been waiting for me. The forest no longer felt like it belonged to me. Every crunch of snow, every whisper of wind carried intent. I pushed forward, heart hammering, and came upon more. Not just squirrels this time, but rabbits. A crow hung the same way, grotesque markers lining my path. Each one like a warning from a Jinn al-Gharb, the Western watcher, feeding on fear, guiding me deeper into unease. 100 yards from my truck, I froze. My backpack, the one I had left in my tree stand hours ago, leaned against a tree, zipped open, everything laid out, knife, flashlight, extra arrows, neatly, like someone or something had cataloged my belongings. Whoever had climbed my stand had been there, unseen, silent, meticulous. I snatched it up, adrenaline surging, and sprinted the rest of the way. My truck lay ahead, but the unease did not lift. The driver's side door was open. I knew I had locked it. Inside, nothing missing, yet my registration papers were on the passenger seat, not the glove box. Every instinct screamed danger. Then I saw him again, 40 yards into the tree line, standing perfectly still. That smile, pale, unholy, and unwavering. This time, his hand rose, pointed at me, and then slowly traced a line across his throat, the silent, universal promise of death. I tore gravel on the forest road as if the earth itself would spit me out of that nightmare. The property owner later told me that no one else had permission. Weeks later, the Game Commission discovered a makeshift shelter deep in the woods, crafted from tarps and old wood. Inside were animal bones and stolen hunting gear from multiple properties. And I understood the truth too late. I was never alone. I had only thought I were. The Jinn El-Sar, the spirit of the hunt, the unseen stalker, had been patient, watching, orchestrating its theater of fear. And from that day, I never hunted alone, never in unfamiliar woods. The forest had claimed a part of my peace, and the shadows had learned my name. The winter sun sank beneath the horizon, leaving the woods bathed in a cold, silvery gloom. Every tree seemed taller, darker, as if leaning closer to whisper secrets in a tongue older than men. My mind replayed the day's horrors, the gray figure, the orange markers, the circle of death in the snow. The Jinn al-Lail, night spirits of the wilderness, had made their presence undeniable. I felt their gaze in every shadow, their patience in every breath of wind. The property, once familiar, had become a labyrinth of menace. I drove away in silence, gravel crunching beneath my tires, never once looking back. Even then, I sensed him watching, a presence tethered to the woods like an ancient oath. The thought clawed at my chest. The forest had remembered me, and it would not forget. From that day onward, the forests I loved became places of quiet dread. The once comforting ritual of hunting was now a reminder that the line between hunter and hunted was fragile, and that some eyes in the shadows never close, some jinn never rest. And I understood, in the marrow of my bones, the hunter who strays alone in those woods carries not just a rifle, but a curse. Before we continue with the rest of the story, are you enduring this fear alone? How does it feel? Comment below. New viewers, subscribe now. I hadn't seen my grandpa in years. His life, ruled by the demands of his company, rarely allowed for family time. So when he said he wanted to go hunting in Crockett, Texas, I didn't hesitate. I'm not much of a hunter myself. I prefer camping, but the promise of a secluded getaway was irresistible. We arrived at the property through a nondescript iron gate beside the freeway. No real entrance, no welcoming sign, just a dirt track that wound deep into the woods. At the end lay an old house, abandoned to time, but maintained with a stubborn pride. Grandpa told me his father built it for hunting and escape from life's burdens. The place was peaceful, almost sacred, with the distant hum of the freeway lost among the towering pines. That night, after unpacking and cooking, I heard it, scratching at the window. A faint sound, easily dismissed, but in the dark, it felt intrusive, deliberate. The Arabic term ruh al-mukim came unbidden to mind, a restless spirit tied to a place, observing intruders with patience older than memory. I fell asleep uneasy, but not alarmed. Morning arrived gray and cold. Grandpa and I prepared to head to the blinds. As we scanned the distant tree line with binoculars, I saw movement. Someone or something peeking from the edge of the woods, watching, not merely observing wildlife, but aware of us. My pulse quickened. I awoke Grandpa, pointing frantically. He chuckled at first, calling it imagination, but the air carried tension, the sense of being witnessed, an ancient unease, like the Jinn al-Ahram, a watcher of thresholds, those spaces between the human and the unseen. And I knew, even then, that the forest had a life of its own, and it had noticed us. The morning passed uneventfully, but by afternoon the air had shifted. After cleaning the deer we had hunted, Grandpa and I left for town to gather supplies. When we returned, the scene in the clearing made my blood run cold. Claw and bite marks marred the deer's body, too deliberate, too violent. Something had been here while we were away, something not entirely natural. Grandpa, ever pragmatic, suggested it might be coyotes. I wanted to believe him, but a chill crawled along my spine. The Arabic word kareen whispered in my mind, a malevolent companion spirit, unseen yet ever present, capable of manipulating events around humans. That night, we went on a scouting hunt, flashlights and ARs in hand, venturing into the woods. The tree line seemed alive, pulsing with observation. I spotted it again, a figure lurking at the forest's edge, vanishing the moment it noticed me. The hair on my arms stood rigid. Grandpa approached cautiously, rifle raised. Minutes later, a shot rang out. A coyote fell, its body mutilated in a way that didn't fully explain the earlier marks. We paused, tension thick like fog. Then came the scream, piercing, inhuman, closer than the last night. It wasn't human, it wasn't animal. My chest tightened as the forest seemed to lean in, echoing that horrific cry. Heavy footsteps and ragged breathing followed us as we ran back to the house. Whatever it was, it thrived in the darkness, tracking, observing, patient. Inside, we fortified the doors. Screeching and thuds pounded against the wood. Grandpa fired shots through the walls, but the sounds of anguish and fury outside only intensified. In those moments, the Arabic term Jinn al-Shar, spirit of mischief and malevolence, felt chillingly real. We were intruders in a world older and far darker than ourselves. The firelight flickered weakly, casting grotesque shapes against the surrounding trees. Every rustle, every crack of a branch seemed amplified, like the forest itself was breathing in anticipation. We huddled in the largest tent, rifles close, hearts hammering, unable to move for fear of drawing the attention of whatever haunted the woods. Minutes stretched into eternity. Then came the footsteps, fast, heavy, dragging across the leaf-strewn ground. Something brushed the side of my tent, a scraping that made my stomach knot. The Jinn al-Khalas, the desert wanderers of legend, whispered in my mind, unseen yet palpably near, feeding off terror, manipulating reality. I did not call for Grandpa or Connor. Calling out might invite death itself. Then silence, the worst silence, pregnant with malevolence, and it broke with a scream that tore through the night, unnatural and ear-splitting. It was not human. It was not any creature I recognized. Connor's scream answered mine, raw and panicked. Kyle fired blindly through the tent roof, the blast deafening in the oppressive dark. Footsteps fled into the distance, leaving us trembling in the aftermath. We gathered into one tent, the three of us pressed together, eyes wide, fingers on triggers, listening to the woods that now seemed alive with intent. Every shadow a threat, every sound a message from the unseen. The Arabic word al-Qareen hovered at the edge of my mind, the ever-present companion spirit that watches, judges, and terrifies. And in that night, we understood we were no longer hunters. We were prey. Dawn brought cold gray light, revealing the aftermath of the night's terror. A few overturned chairs, a crushed beer can, a moved plastic tub. Minor details, but each a testament to the presence that had stalked us. Nothing stolen, yet everything violated. The forest was no longer neutral. It had a consciousness, one that observed, toyed, and threatened. We packed in silence. Each step back to the truck waited with the memory of screams, footsteps, and unseen eyes. Laughter surfaced occasionally, nervous and brittle, a thin veneer over our collective fear. Connor mimicked Kyle's shouts into the darkness from the night before, the sound hollow and absurd against the lingering dread. Yet, even in our laughter, the Arabic term Ruh al-Harim, a spirit guarding boundaries, punishing intrusion, haunted my thoughts. We left the woods behind, but the sensation did not leave us. The screams, the scratches, the invisible gaze, the Jinn al-Shar, all lingered in the corners of my mind. That night, I dreamt of a woman, bloodied and screaming in the trees, her eyes fixed on me with a silent accusation. I could not move toward her. I could only watch as she dissolved into the shadows, her wails echoing in my mind long after I woke. Even now, the question haunts me. Had there truly been someone in need, or had something far darker played with us? The forest held its secrets, and we had learned a vital truth. The unseen is patient, and the woods remember every trespass. Before we continue with the rest of the story, are you enduring this fear alone? How does it feel? Comment below. New viewers, subscribe now. Kyle had been relentless, coaxing Connor and me into a hunting trip we didn't want. Neither of us knew the woods. Neither of us could gut a deer, start a fire, or sleep comfortably on the ground. But the lure of adventure and the promise of stories to tell finally broke our resistance. Late November, rifle season, cold enough to suppress the insects, the perfect excuse. We drove hours into the mountains, the truck climbing winding roads until the trees thickened into shadows. Kyle instructed us like soldiers in training. Walk quietly, rifles always safe, read the signs of the forest. The Arabic word al-ghul whispered in my mind, creatures that prey in shadow, thriving on fear, unseen until it is too late. By the time we hiked to the chosen spot, my legs were burning, shoulders aching. We set up a small campsite near a creek, the fire crackling weakly in the deepening dusk. At first, the woods seemed peaceful. The creek babbled, the fire hissed, and for a moment, the mountains felt alive in a benign way. Then came the scream. Distant, high-pitched, unmistakably human, or at least mimicking it. Kyle laughed nervously, attributing it to a fox, but the sound cut through the trees with precision, closer than reason allowed. Kyle's face darkened, recognizing the presence of something ancient, patient, and unseen. The Jinn al-Akhram, spirit guardians of thresholds, neither fully corporeal nor benign, were here, watching, waiting. Night fell quickly, draping the mountains in an oppressive darkness that swallowed sound and depth alike. The scream returned, closer this time, slicing through the stillness like a blade. Kyle insisted we investigate, flashlights and rifles in hand, venturing into the forest as if testing its patience. Every snapping branch and rustling leaf felt deliberate, calculated, an unseen watcher guiding our movements. I caught glimpses of movement at the tree line, fleeting shadows that vanished the moment I focused. The Arabic term ruh al-khalas, a spirit that walks unseen among humans, sowing terror, echoed in my mind. Something was stalking us, studying our every breath, every step. Connor's forced bravado vanished, replaced by silent tension, eyes darting into darkness. Then we found the deer, mutilated and torn. Kyle had shot a coyote, but it didn't explain the deeper marks, the unnatural arrangement. We felt eyes on us, not just from the forest, but from something beyond comprehension. Heavy footsteps, ragged breathing, and the sudden screeching of some unseen entity surrounded our camp. The Jinn al-Shar, malevolent and relentless, pressed in close, testing the boundaries of fear. We fled back to camp, heartbeats pounding, breaths ragged. Whatever it was, it had the forest under its command. The woods were alive with intent, and we were trespassers. That night, the mountain was no longer merely terrain. It was a predator. By the time we returned to camp, the firelight barely penetrated the suffocating darkness. Every shadow twisted unnaturally, each sound magnified into a threat. We huddled in our tents, rifles at the ready, listening to the forest come alive around us. Branches scraped, leaves rustled, and an unseen presence circled us like a predator savoring its prey. Something brushed against my tent, a dragging, scratching motion that made my blood run cold. The Arabic word al-Qarin whispered in my mind, a companion spirit, often invisible, feeding on fear and guiding misfortune. I did not call out. Any sound could draw it closer. The silence that followed was worse than any scream, thick and heavy, pregnant with anticipation. And then the scream shattered the night. It was not human, not animal, but a grotesque mixture of both, a sound that pierced the soul. Connor screamed in response, panicked and raw. Kyle fired blindly into the dark, a futile gesture against the unseen entity. Footsteps tore through the underbrush, brushing past tents, dragging, scratching, disappearing into the night. We pressed together in the largest tent, hearts pounding, every nerve on fire. The Jinn el-Shar lingered just beyond sight, mocking, patient, powerful. We were no longer adventurers or hunters. We were intruders in a realm older, darker, and infinitely more malevolent than we had imagined. Morning came gray and cold, but it did not bring relief. The camp showed signs of the night's chaos: overturned chairs, trampled beer cans, scattered supplies. Nothing stolen, yet everything violated. The forest was no longer just trees and shadows. It had a consciousness, a predatory awareness that had marked us as intruders. We packed silently, every step heavy with memories of screams, dragging footsteps, and unseen eyes. Nervous laughter surfaced sporadically, brittle and uneasy, trying to mask the terror that clung to us like a second skin. The Arabic phrase, Ru al-Harim, echoed in my mind, the spirit that guards boundaries and punishes intrusion. The woods had judged us, and we had survived by chance, not skill. Even on the road home, the feeling lingered. That night, I dreamt of a woman in the trees, bloodied and screaming, eyes accusing me silently. I could not reach her. She vanished into shadow, her wails etched into my memory. The question haunts me still. Had someone truly been in need, or had we brushed against something far darker? The mountains held their secret, patient, waiting. We left, but the forest did not forget, and neither would we. And so tonight's story comes to an end, but the deeper the silence, the louder the fear. Follow us for more nightmare-fueling stories. Only the brave survive.